Hello everybody and welcome back to another weekly recap. In the weekly recap, I like to go over any news related to the old school RuneScape community this week. Now this week we have a lot of news and updates regarding Trailblazer, and just in general most of the discussion is about the new league. We did get a content update today, but those are mainly bug fixes and small changes to the Trailblazer league. So we're going to be going over those as well as anything else interesting in the old school RuneScape community this week, including a quick recap of the weekly Q&A. Anyway guys, thanks for watching. As always, if you do enjoy it, I always appreciate it if you leave the video a like. Always helps out with the YouTube algorithm. Thank you so much, and let's get started. Now this week's game update was called Revenant Cave Tweaks and Leagues to Fixes. Now first up here at the top, we have a couple of quick changes to the new Revenant Cave update. Now they've been looking over some feedback from players this week, and they are going to make the following changes to the Revenant Caves. Now first up here, the respawn rate of the Revenants has been increased, which means there are going to be more Revenants to kill more often. Now, the protection period will only activate when you pay the entry fee for the first time. The amount of Ether dropped by Revenants have been doubled, which is kind of important because the amount of kills per hour and the amount of Revenant drops that you were getting vastly decreased. So the demand was going up from not only Revenants, but other places that you'd use any of the wilderness weapons. And now, additionally, the new wilderness caves have their own audio track, so just kind of a cosmetic change there. Now it looks like they are going to be making a couple of very small changes to the Revenant caves, but nothing major. It looks like they are fairly happy with the spot that they're in currently. Okay, so the rest of the blog post is regarding Trailblazer, and Mod Husky and Mod Flippy both had a paragraph or so to talk about the league. Now Mod Husky writes that Last Recall is a really strong choice because Kandarin is a useful region, and when they were designing it, they forgot that players get pretty much instant access to the seed pod. Now apparently Kandarin, Asgarnia, and Mauritania with the melee relic has been one of the most popular metas, but the other combat styles have been somewhat overlooked. Now Mod Flippy pretty much just thanked everyone for playing the league and stated that they're going to be taking the feedback for the relics and the tasks going into the future. Now throughout this week, the league has been receiving hotfixes. Today we're going to get more changes, and in the following week's update, there's going to be even more additional changes to Trailblazer. So we're going to go unpack each thing individually here. Now first up here, the Production Master relic now works when fletching javelin shafts and firing pottery. Now I went ahead and picked Production Master, and I've kind of come to regret it a bit. It is nice that it now works with javelin shafts. I'm not really sure how useful firing pottery is anyway. I do think in the late game, Production Master will come out on top, but it does seem pretty weak early game. Okay, now this week there was a pretty major hotfix to the Fluid Strikes relic. Now this relic was not interacting properly with NPC attacks where the damage is based on your maximum HP level. It was allowing players to bypass certain boss mechanics such as the Pestilent Bloat's Stomp attack, Sotisig's Red Ball, or Verzik's Green Ball. Because of that, they have now applied a hotfix. Fluid Strike will now only apply its damage reduction effect if the damage you'd have taken was less than your current HP. So for example, if you have 74 hit points and an attack does 74 damage, you're dead. If you have 75 hit points and the attack deals 74 damage, then Fluid Strikes will now reduce it to 63. Essentially, previously you just couldn't really get one shot, which again is kind of unintended. Now a couple of the league tasks were actually straight up not completable just because of some intricate interaction between the regions. First up here, the Restore X prayer points will now check for your prayer points instead of your prayer level. You can now steal a chocolate slice, which works in both Ardoon and Keldgrim. Now I read some people had some issues getting their Drayman staff back if you lost it, but you're now definitely able to obtain a second one from the league tutor. And another major change here is the Double Cast relic will now save runes in the alchemy room of the magic training arena for those poor souls who picked the desert. Now that is all for what was changed this week. However, they have a ton of changes lined up for the next week's update. We're going to just pick out the important ones here. Now first up here, the Lesser Demons in the Wilderness will now count towards the Defeat a Lesser Demon task. That was obviously a bug. Now, a lot of people have agreed that clue scrolls have been quite challenging to complete in this league. However, they have made a bit of an upgrade to them. You can no longer receive steps for Phalo the Bard, Sherlock, Music Steps, and Zaya. Now, you weren't ever supposed to get Zaya steps, but that was an unintended mechanic. Now, hopefully getting rid of all of these step requirements have made clues a lot easier to complete. Now, probably one of the most controversial proposed changes here is to the God Wars dungeon and Last Recall. Now next week they are planning on making the following changes to both of those things. Now first up here, your kill count at the God Wars dungeon can no longer be reduced by any means while playing on the League world. That means once you have the kill count, you never have to get it again, which has across the board a benefit for whatever relic you ended up choosing. Now on top of that, they are making a change to the last recall relic. Now as it currently stands, with the last recall relic, you can teleport directly back into the boss fight. However, that doesn't work in instances. Now because of this, players never really have to leave the boss room, which means that the non-instance worlds are completely full all the time. Now to fix this issue, they'd like to change how the last recall relic works in the God Wars dungeon, and have it teleport players to the door of the boss room instead of directly in. In the end though, this is not much of a nerf because that will allow you to re-enter a private instance, and you can do pretty much the exact same thing. In addition, your kill count would not be removed once it's earned, regardless of your relic you've chosen. I know a lot of people were angry about making changes to last recall, and I think overall not having to get the kill count is just a good benefit for everyone. Now another pretty big bug with one of the relics that is going to be fixed next week is to do with the quick shot relic. Now currently the 90% ammo save does not stack with an Ava's device. Now before leagues it was mentioned that it was intended to stack, so they're making that change next week, so if you have both of them, that will be a 98% ammo save bonus. Now this is particularly useful for players who picked Wind but not the desert, because now you're able to use darts without really having to worry about replenishing them through drops as frequently. Now another pretty major bug that was fixed this week had to do with the God Wars bodyguards. Now the God Sword shards will now actually correctly drop from them, and will now also have the League drop rate modifier applied to them. I think previously you just couldn't get the God Sword shards from them. Now obviously I skipped over a ton of minor bug fixes and quality of life stuff, so if you want to know each individual change, I have linked the actual blog post in my description if you want to check it out. Okay, so in addition to that, they're opening up 13 new League worlds, which is awesome because the first couple hours in the first day, everything was pretty damn laggy. Okay, now for people who are interested in rankings, here are the current threshold ranks for Trailblazer League. To be in bronze, you need at least 100 points. I think that is a static amount. I don't know if you need any more than that. The point threshold for iron is currently 520. For steel, it's 1,440. Mithril is 3,130. Adamant is 5,750. Runite is 11,000, and Dragon Tier is 16,890. And finally here, the Halloween event will be removed next week, November 11th. So if you haven't ever done the Halloween event, I would recommend just going ahead and doing it. It takes a few minutes and you get all of the rewards, including a pretty cool house reskin and cosmetic items. And that finally is it for today's game update. Now next up here, I want to highlight a couple of interesting things that happened in the community this week. And now first up here, there was a really exciting sponsored spot by a very popular Twitch streamer called Asmongold. People have been asking him to play RuneScape for a long time now, but he has finally done it for a couple of hours. But beyond that, there's a really good interview between Asmongold and the RuneScape J moderators. It's about 2 hours, but I would highly recommend watching it. It's just a good interview. It's a pretty good down-to-earth conversation, so if you got a couple hours to spare, I would go ahead and watch it. Link in the description for that. Now partly because of that, and of course Trailblazer, we have now received the highest concurrent player count to date in Oldschool RuneScape, and that is 170,000 players online at once, which happened last Sunday. Numbers like that just make me so happy. It's awesome that the game continues to grow. 170,000 players is a massive achievement, so I don't think OSRS is going anywhere anytime soon. Now there wasn't a Q&A per se today, but there was a live stream that happened a couple of days ago. We're just going to highlight a couple of really important things from it. Now this week, something really exciting happened. We got back a J-mod, and that is Mod Aiza. It is really awesome to see him back because he was a pretty well-liked and passionate J-mod. He is now going to be assuming the role of Senior Community Manager, which somebody so eloquently described as Senior Reddit Reader, which I thought was kind of funny. Great to have him back though, that's awesome. And finally here, there are some stats regarding the relic choices. Now this is pretty early on from Thursday, but for the tier 1 relics, Endless Harvest had 41% of players pick it, Production Master had 31%, and Skilling Prodigy had 28%. For tier 2, Fairy's Flight had 5% of players pick it, Eternal Jeweler had 28% of people pick it, and Last Recall had 67% of the player base pick it. And finally here for tier 3, Quickshot had 26% of players pick it, Fluid Strikes had 70% of people pick it, so actually the most popular relic, and Double Cast had 4%, so the least popular. Obviously that was Thursday, things may have changed, people only had up to tier 3 at that point, but I still thought it was kind of interesting. Anyway guys, that is going to be it for today's video. Normally I would include a bit more from the live stream, but it was kind of just more general chatting, more stuff about leagues, not so many Q&A questions. Now before I go here, I want to give a massive thank you to Revolver Ocelot, Kush Patel, Tizdoc Bunny, and Brad Sings for subscribing in my Dragon tier of YouTube membership. Can't believe you guys did that. Thank you so much guys, it means a lot. Also a massive shout out to Double Talk, Heathen OSRS, Base Titch, and Luke Kaiser. Thank you guys again. If any of you guys are looking for an additional way to support the channel, becoming a YouTube member is an awesome way to do so. You can become immortalized in my videos, get access to a video release schedule, as well as get a custom Discord role. Anyway guys, thanks again, and I'll see you next time.